A lot of people have been leaving comments under my YouTube videos of how did you lose 20 pounds and gain it all back as an amateur MMA fighter. Even the commentators were calling me a little fire hydrant or a tank.
He looks like a little tank.
My name is Taylor Weber and I'm making this video about how I cut 20 pounds and gain it all back at 135 pounds without a nutrition coach or a doctor. I do this all myself based on research I've done. Weight cutting, let's get right into it. Alright everyone, my name is Taylor Weber, 2-0 amateur MMA fighter. I'm making this video about how I cut 20 pounds and gain it all back at 135 pounds. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional. Do not do this at home unless you have someone keeping an eye on you, and please be careful doing this. But this is how I do it, and if you need any help weight cutting without a professional supervisor or anything like that, this has some general guidelines you could generally follow that have worked for me and worked for some of my students as well. As I said before, I lose about 20 pounds of weight and gain that all back in the 24 hours between weigh-ins and fight day. So let's get right into it. So my walk around weight is around 153 pounds. So that's about 17 pounds over the 135 weight limit. And then I use that walk around weight and my height to calculate my BMR using an online BMR calculator. That tends to be around 1,800 calories depending on what calculator you use. If you were to find like a BMR calculator, you can just look up BMR calculator online and the first few will always be pretty good. And then with my training, I wear a Whoop band, but you can use any sort of calorie tracker. For about an hour of training, I tend to lose about 700 calories, and I'll train 2 hours a day plus a little bit of cardio. So on average, I lose an additional 1,500 calories a day on top of my basal metabolic rate, which is my resting calories burned. I use that to try to hit around a minus 500 calorie per day deficit with around 6 to 8 weeks leading up to the fight. So that'll equal about 2,800 calories a day for me. So usually I'm losing mostly fat. You're going to lose a little bit of muscle, but you're trying to have enough protein, at least a gram per pound of lean body mass. All right, so for me, that equals at about 120, 130, and I try to go even a little overboard with that. So let's go to what I eat while I am cutting. I don't follow a strict meal plan. I try to make sure I get the amount of protein I need, and outside of that, the carbs and the fats aren't super important for me personally. This will change when I become a professional, and then I'll get an experienced dietitian, but you can use any sort of like calorie tracker app. Pal is something everyone uses, everyone kind of knows, so that one works really well. But I try to eat at lunch. I typically fast in the morning. I find that works pretty easily for me, and I can have larger meals throughout the day if I fast in the morning. Typically my lunch will consist of about 800 calories. I tend to go on the lower side of things. So you'll see that this adds up to about 2,500 calories, which is a little lower on the last slide, but I try to go lower because a lot of calorie estimates are incorrect. A lot of times it'll be higher than what you actually expect. So I'll try to be even below what my goal is whenever I look at the calories on the back or on the nutrition sheet for something. So lunch, about 35 to 50 grams of protein in my lunch with 800 calories. After that, I typically have a midday snack, probably around 3 p.m. because I train at 5:30 and do that for an hour. And then I train again at 6:30. It's two different classes. We have our grappling class and our striking class. So I'll have about 400 to 500 calories with a protein chips or protein bar and maybe some fruits to give me a little bit of a boost before training. And then dinner is when I have my largest meal, so that whenever I wake up, I'm not super hungry still, and I can do that fasting in the morning. That's around, it says 6 to 7, but it'll end up usually being around 7:30 to 8 o'clock is when I'll have my dinner. And that's 40 to 50 grams of protein and a little bit more carbs to keep me going in the morning after I do my little bit of fasting to get to my lunch. After that, some of the other habits I do in the lead up weeks to the fight are 7 to 15 minutes of sauna every other day at least. I try to do it every day. I really actually enjoy the sauna, but it helps you like with heat retention and to get used to the sauna or sweating and being in a super hot environment before you have to make that final cut. So it kind of gets you used to that heat. Then I try to have at least a gallon of water daily. That's just like a general health thing. I do that in and out of camp. And then I also limit my alcohol intake. This is for if you do like to drink. I like to drink a little bit outside of camp. So I will start to limit that to once a week. And then usually it's really only 1 or 2 beers. So nothing crazy except for the 2 weeks out. At 2 weeks out, I cut it out completely. Next thing, now we get to fight week. At that time, I should have lost around 7-ish pounds, and I'll be around 146 to 147. So I'll be 12 to 13 pounds over the 135 limit. During this week, I start to cut out the carbs and eat primarily protein, but I do up my calorie intake. So I do that so I can feel good throughout the week. I don't want to be low energy fight week. I want to start feeling really good so I can peak for the fight. I lower the carbs because carbs also hold water, right? So alongside cutting the salt intake or sodium intake, which also holds water, carbohydrates hold water as well. So I start to cut down on the carbs throughout the week. Really, my goal is to have very little water retention by reducing carbs and reducing sodium intake, but have higher energy still because I'm eating at maintenance now. I'm upping my calories by around 500, and now I'm starting to eat at 3,200 calories a day, which is like my maintenance. Okay, so I'm upping my energy, but I'm lowering my carbs and salt intake. After that, or alongside that, I'm also water loading the week of the fight. 4 days out, I'll have 2 gallons a day. 3 days out, 1 gallon a day. 2 days out, half a gallon, and 1 day out, 1 water bottle. Day of the competition or the weigh-ins, that's no water. What this is doing is really tricking your body into being able to sweat more. There's a hormone called ghrelin. I can't remember if it's increasing or decreasing that, but it just makes you sweat more and continue to be able to pee to lose that water weight. Don't be worried on your 4 days out if you gain a little bit of weight. That's because you just had 2 gallons of water. That's going to go away throughout the next days where you're lowering your water intake. Those 2 gallons, don't worry about it. If you gain like 2 pounds of weight on your day 4, maybe a pound on your day 3, don't worry about it. Don't freak out, okay? You are going to be okay. Next up, we got the day before weigh-ins. Day before weigh-ins, I really only eat 1 normal sized meal. That's around 800 calories. Same thing, no carbs on this one. It's just protein and fats. I don't want to have any extra carbs in me to hold on to water weight. I'll also, just before bed, because I have a hard time sleeping if I'm too hungry, I'll have a little protein and maybe just a little bit of fruit right before bed. So I'll have maybe 1,000 calories, but the calories aren't really what matters. It's the weight of the food. I should be able to process and digest that and get rid of that before weigh-ins the next day at around 3 p.m. So what I'm doing there is just limiting the amount of like actual food weight in my body. I personally don't perform well if I don't eat anything at all like the day before. I need to eat something the day before personally, but nothing too big. About 1,000 calories worth of food won't be that much weight. All right, so now for the final water cut. This is the part that's gonna suck. You can do it a few different ways. I personally like sauna, so that's what I have on here. I begin at about 145 pounds the day before, about 10 pounds over the day before. In the evening, I will do 10 minutes on, 15 minutes out of sauna until I get to around 139 pounds. That typically takes me about 4 or 5 sessions. So this is about a 2-hour process that I do at night of getting down to weight. After that, I try to go to sleep. I eat my little snack. I try to go to sleep, and then I typically lose about 1 pound at night. That's something you should be tracking throughout this process, is how much weight do you lose while you sleep. So you kind of get an average of how much you're losing, so you know beforehand, like, hey, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have this snack at night. Maybe I should eat a little bit less, or maybe I can eat a little bit more because I lose 2 pounds overnight. Some people lose a lot of weight overnight. It's just going to depend on where you're at, so you can have an idea where you need to go for the next day. Weigh-in day. I try to begin at around 138 pounds. Like I said, I lose a pound at night. And then I will do the same sauna protocol, but I use Vaseline or Sweet Sweat to enhance the amount of sweat that I'm getting from those sauna sessions until I get to my weight of 135. Some other options you can have for cutting weight are obviously sweatsuit, running, jump ropes, anything like that. Hot tub can work even though it's not as hot. Another option that I have used when I don't have access to a sauna that I really do like is putting Epsom salt in as hot of a bath as you can tolerate. I'll do similar time in and out as the sauna. Maybe I'll go 15 minutes in the bathtub. It's a little bit easier to tolerate, and then 20 minutes out. But I tend to lose a little bit more in the bathtub than I do the sauna, but sauna is my preferred way. Find what works for you in terms of what is the least uncomfortable for you. Because right, leading up to the fight, you want to be as comfortable as possible. Weight cutting sucks, but if you can find something that you don't hate in terms of cutting that water weight, go for that. Okay, so it's same thing like I would say for like cardio. Whatever you don't hate to do, whatever something you might enjoy. I like hitting the bag or doing endless rope for cardio. I don't like running. As long as you're getting your heart rate in those zones, that's what matters. As long as you're sweating and as long as the weight is coming off, that's what matters. You don't have to run, because I find that running personally, if I'm running in a sweatsuit to lose weight, my knees hurt. That doesn't feel good for me. I want to feel good the day of the fight. So sitting in a sauna or sitting in a hot bathtub is really easy in my joints. It works well for me. Now let's get into how I rehydrate. At weigh-ins, I have at least a 1 liter water bottle filled with like a Pedialyte or any one of your favorite like sport electrolyte mixes. I'll do one of those electrolyte packets, or if you go to the gas station, grab like a Gatorade-Lite, a Pedialyte, whatever you like, but have like at least 1 liter of that alongside another like 1 liter water bottle with you at weigh-ins. Because most of the time they do the weigh-ins, then they do the face-offs, especially like amateur MMA. Those are the same time. You're gonna have to wait a little bit before you can dip out and go get some food. So make sure you bring that water to weigh-ins. I also bring with me my first meal. So I'll bring my first high carbohydrate and very, very large meal, because you're hungry, you want to eat a ton. So you just start eating. So I start smashing the food. Other people will say otherwise, that you need to eat slowly. My stomach can handle it. So start slowly, and if you feel like you can handle it, just start eating. Personally, this is, like I said, not a doctor. This is not specific medical advice. This is how I do my weight cuts. So alongside that, the day of weigh-ins leading into the fight, I drink at least 2 gallons of water before I get in the cage. I'm drinking water all day and night. I'm just smashing as much water as I can handle. I'll also eat that day of weigh-ins 2 to 3 high calorie meals. They're at 3, the weigh-ins for me are at 3 o'clock. So I can get 2 to 3 meals in before I go to bed, alongside snacking on typically pretzels or some snack that's not going to irritate my stomach. Something that's easy on the stomach, but I enjoy, that I can eat a lot of. I also, once I can leave weigh-ins, I go straight to get an IV if it is legal in the place that you are fighting. Right? Make sure to check the commission and everything like that if you can get an IV. But if you can, definitely get an IV. And a lot of places will have different mixes you can do that will help you even more with recovery. They'll add electrolytes in there for you, stuff like that. So read up on what is near you. And I really like to get an IV. IVs definitely help with rehydration. So that's what I do. And then the day of the fight, I will have a large breakfast and a medium-sized lunch, because I don't like to feel too full when I get out there and fight. If I'm too full when I fight, I feel sluggish, so I start to lower the amount of food I'm eating. So like a normal sized lunch, and then maybe a little snack before I leave for the venue, and then I'm pretty much done. If you're early on the card, then you're good to go. If you're later in the card, maybe once you get to the venue, have a little snack, and then start chilling out and getting ready for your warm-ups. So we'll move on to the next thing. And yeah, by the time I get to the venue, I'm 20 pounds heavier. Last time I fought, I weighed in right at 135. And before I left the house to get to the venue, I weighed like 154.5. So right at 20 pounds, pretty much, like as close as you can get to it. The time before I was 155.3. So I gain around 20 pounds as an amateur fighter. This is without any sort of nutrition coaching. It's something you can do yourself. So this is a rough estimate of what you could do for different weight classes. Because larger people are going to have more water, they can cut a little bit more weight. This is a rough estimate. I used ChatGPT to help me with this just a little bit. But as you go up in weight classes, you're going to be able to cut more weight. So here we have a little bit of a general idea of where you should be in terms of weight cutting for your weight class. The higher you get, the more you can do because you have more water. Like I said, be careful doing this yourself. I'm not a doctor, but if you're an amateur fighter, this is how I do my weight cuts and can give you a good idea of how other people are doing their weight cuts and how you can best prepare yourself for your amateur fight. So please let me know down in the comments your weight cutting experience, if your coach has kind of taught you how to do a weight cut, maybe any of your bad stories about weight cuts, what you did wrong, so that other people can have more information. So please let me know down in the comments, and I hope this was a good, informational, entertaining video for you to learn how to do your weight cut and how I do mine. Thank you for watching. Ready, 1, 2.